So it's important to remember that you can't wait for other people to help you out. You simply just have to do it yourself often. And that goes for making yourself feel better and working on how you feel. You can't wait for other people to come and sort of come to the rescue, right? Like they're never going to come to the rescue. If it hasn't happened yet, then it's unlikely they just don't care, right? So you have to um, you have to decide that you're going to make yourself feel better, and however that might be, whether it is closing out people that make you feel bad, or actively working on getting exercise, or whatever, right? Like whatever it takes, you have to sort of decide to do that. You can't wait for somebody else to come by and help you out. It's never going to happen. It just doesn't. They do not care, right? Like the whole world is very self-centered and focused on themselves, and you can't wait for other people to come save you. Or, the other thing to remember is that because they don't care, they're unlikely to actually do anything to, change their behavior. So what you need to do is you need to take a step up and say, you know what, I'm going to watch out for myself, and I am just going to do the things that allow me to protect me and protect, other people. You choose to do that, and you just simply have to like tune everybody out, because the world does not care at the end of the day. And I think that's the challenge has been, watching um, watching the sort of responses across the world in terms of the COVID um, pandemic. It's there's some societies that actually do care about others, right? There's lots of countries that actually do care about other people, but there's a lot of countries that are very independent and they don't care, right? Like they just really cut each other people off. And so you need to assume that other people do not care, and you have to sort of plan accordingly and do your actions accordingly. Um, this is really, really tricky in a pandemic because your actions depend on other people's actions, and there's nothing that you could sort of do about that, but you have to just tune other people out and say, you know what, I don't care, and I'm going to do the thing that I need to do to protect myself and to protect other people, right? And you have to have that courage to do that. You can't wait for other people to come to the rescue. You can't, you can't, you know, people really do not care. And so you can either have, there's two solutions, right? You can either sort of step up and do it yourself, which in a pandemic, that's really hard to do, right? Because our actions actually depend on other people, right? And that's not going to change. So the other option is to have the technology there that will allow us to be a lot more independent and uncorrelated with other people, right? So whether it being vaccines or masks, whatever, right? Like having using Zoom, which I think will never happen again. You know, those kind of things are important to mitigate crisis, um, because you're trying to remove other people's, remove them from your situation, right? Like you don't want to depend on other people because they simply don't care, and they will never sort of step up. So you, as an individual, you have to step up and do it yourself. Um, so, you know, however that might be for you. So I choose personally, I chose the day that I could get it. In fact, it was before I can actually get it vaccinated, choose to, wear masks, um, and those kind of things. Right now, we are sort of going into the stage where, I wasn't wearing a mask for a while. I might actually start wearing them more often because we're going through another wave. But here's the thing: like you simply have to choose to do it yourself, and you can't wait for other people. So with the pandemic, how this is going to play out, until we can remove that factor of other people, right? Like making sure that you are a lot more independent. So how that's going to play out is having technology that comes in, right? So universal coronavirus vaccine that removes it altogether, the sort of variants altogether. Having various antivirals that work, and those kind of things are going to be the only way that we're going to resolve this, because simply people don't care, and we have to move on from that factor of let's look for social change, let's look for people to sort of come together. It's not going to happen, and so you need to realize that you got to move on. And frankly, our family has moved on a while ago. I've moved on a while ago of being like, whatever. You can't change other people that don't care. And it's just like everything that goes on where you're like, why is this repeatedly happening? It's simply they don't care, right? Like, so then you as an individual, you have to move on and decide what you want to do in response to that. Um, so, deciding what you're going to do in response to that is the sort of big factor. And I think in some countries, you can sort of, the social factor is a big part of it, but in other countries, it's not. And you have to sort of decide how you're going to live your life given what's going on. So, I choose to do things that mitigate my risks in many situations as possible. However, I realize that is not conducive in some places, right? And there's always a risk for certain things. But ultimately, you have to live your life and stand up and keep going, right? That's ultimately that we have to do, and mitigate as much as you possibly can your risks, but then keep going forward, right? And we'll continue to choose to do that. So um, we will live a good and healthy life as much as we can, but then know that there's inherent risks that are involved in living in certain locations, because of the sort of social factors of whether people care or don't care. It's just part of being there and part of where you live. Often you just have to do that, and look and sort of exercise the possibility that you could move and do all those kind of things to minimize those risks. But ultimately you have to sort of look at, is there a place in this earth that has no risk of doing anything? No, there's not, right? Like, there's always a risk of something bad happening, because of some events. And so you have to choose to live your life to minimize those risks, but at the same time to live a life. Um, and so we will continue to use the best available technologies that are there, but as well as live our life. And we will do that. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.